Hey guys, Matt Donald here. It's late. It's so late. It's like 2 in the morning, and having to record this message for the Paleobites Patreon has interfered with my usual bout of lying in bed and perusing TikTok while waiting for my pills to kick in. But the money, the vast quantities of wealth I get from this show beckons like the seductive sirens it is. So here I am recording this message about the Paleobites Patreon. You know, that money, I want more of it, please. So subscribe to my Patreon at patreon.com/MatthewDonald. There you can find bonus episodes for Paleobites, and you can also get ad-free versions of the show now this show has ads. Like I said, money. Have you seen stuff up there? It's expensive. Gotta hustle, you know? Gotta swindle. Anyways, yeah, so subscribe to my Patreon for bonus episodes of Paleobites, for ad-free versions of the show, and just to show your support, you know, just show that you're a nice guy or gal or non-binary pal. Just help a brother out, man. This crap's hard. Oh yeah, as for what we're talking about for the bonus episode, I don't know.
Roar, growl, snarl, bellow.
Welcome to Paleobites, the podcast that's like a Mosaurus with a thesaurus.
Wait, what?
Exactly. That's the proper response to that. My name is Matthew Donald. Each week, on a rotating series of guest co-hosts, talk about and rate a genus of prehistoric animal, be it dinosaur, mammal, arthropod, and so on. This week, I'm joined by Natasha Krech. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing well. She was just telling me how she spends most of her day going backwards. Maybe I should just leave it at that and let your imagination wander. No, I'm just kidding.
Why not? It's much more fun that way.
You are a trucker, though. I mean, you do work for a certain furniture
basically.
for company. Like I remember, like I was listening to this one episode that you and I did. We were talking about your trucking days, and I had a question about like what would be like one of the worst interactions you could have with a dinosaur, and we both agreed on a T-Rex, and like if you honked at it, it would roar back to you as like a challenge or something. But then I was listening back to it, I was like, oh god, I think I came up with the worst one. Let's not do a T-Rex. Let's instead do a Parasaurolophus, which you might not think might be as bad. But then you honk, and then it honks back. It thinks it's like a mating call, and then so it backs up onto your truck.
I mean, a Parasaurolophus weighs what, a couple tons?
Yeah, exactly. And it also has a horn to honk. You know,
I wonder how much it would sound like an air horn.
It's like, and it's like it hears your things like, oh my god, that's a sexy female Pachycephalosaurus or sexy
something.
male Parasaurolophus, and just starts backing up on, or trying to. It depends on the gender. Oh my god. Anyways, I had that thought. I'm like, that would not be good.
I mean, I do wonder how much of an air horn they sound like.
Because
you can be obnoxious with air horns.
I have a Parasaurolophus character in my books, and one thing I would like them to do if I ever make a movie out of this, which I could have explained this more in the book. Actually, I did say it once or twice in the books, but since she's a Parasaurolophus and they talk, one thing is that when she gets angry, she can shout really loud. Like, not quite to like Black Canary powers, but like enough that maybe you could be stunned a little bit. Just like it's weirdly loud because
interesting.
So that would be fun to deal with. But you know what wouldn't be fun to deal with, especially when you're fishing, is a saber-toothed salmon.
I don't know. Have you watched River Monsters? Do you know what's in the world's freshwater lakes?
Some really scary stuff. I remember
the saber-toothed salmon would fit right in with some of the river monsters Mr. Jeremy Wade has pulled out.
So I have family in Oklahoma, and one of the things we did, I remember when we were visiting family there, we went to the Tulsa Aquarium, which is quite a good aquarium. It has fish from all around the world, all around the oceans, but there is a specific section specifically for fish in the Oklahoma rivers. Ooh. And you wouldn't think that fish in the landlocked state of Oklahoma could get big.
Don't
and you would
have
be
alligator gar down there?
That's the thing. There are some gars that are like 6 or 7 feet long. You're like, what is this doing in Oklahoma and not in like the depths of the Pacific Ocean? Like, what is it doing here?
They're all over the deep south.
Oh man.
So a saber-toothed salmon? Yeah, probably lunch for the alligator gar.
Oh, for sure. Type is a salmonid, also known as the salmon family. Who'da thunk? Size 6.2 to 7.9 feet / 1.9 to 2.4 meters long, 309 to 440 pounds, 177 to 200 kilograms.
That sounds about the same size as some of the sturgeons.
This is definitely one of those fish that if a man caught it and put a picture of it on the dating app, maybe someone would be impressed. I feel like now that's a stereotype, like, oh, bleh. But I feel like if it was a saber-toothed salmon, I'd be like, oh, actually, no, I am impressed about that. You caught that.
I mean, I've heard stories of what alligator gar can do. I've heard stories about what sturgeon can do.
Oh, man.
So
Fish can be, believe it or not, fish like to remain in the water, so don't fish them out unless you try to bring them back, I guess. I don't know. Or unless you want to eat them. I feel like just don't I don't know, maybe I don't like fishing for sport or hunting for sport because I just think that's cruel. But I don't know, what do you think? What's your stance on that?
I grew up around hunting and fishing,
so okay,
so I'm more along the lines, if you're gonna take an animal, eat it.
Yes, I was gonna say eat it. Like, if you're gonna kill it, do something with it.
But you'd have to be aware that Colorado actually has some pretty strict hunting and fishing laws in the first place.
Oh, interesting.
You can't take trout that are under a certain size. You have to throw them back. It goes for just about any fish
under a certain size. Interesting. Yeah. So if it's bigger, you can be like, oh my.
If it's bigger, then that. And you'll forgive if I don't remember offhand all the game regulations, but no, every fish out here has a size minimum before you can take it. Otherwise, it is catch and release.
Okay, I can see that.
Again, trout being the more prevalent out here, we don't really have any particularly predatory fish that are of note out here. Largemouth bass.
Well, the issue, I mean, because some people try to justify hunting as like, oh, that's what wolves do. I'm like, well, wolves go after the sickly deer, while men tend to go after the big, strong male deer, like the big, strong stags.
So again, that's where you would have to be aware of Colorado specific hunting and fishing regulations. You have to be aware of, it's not easy to get the tags to do it. My dad puts in for an archery draw every other year. He doesn't always get a license.
Right.
But when he does go out for a chance. He doesn't always come back with an animal. More often than not, he doesn't.
Right.
He usually goes for the licenses for the does.
I wrote a character in my upcoming second book of the Teslanaut series, Tesla Mancer. There's this guy in Siberia, and he has a hunting dog with him, and he goes out and hunts in the forests.
And that's its own controversy, and I'll let
that's from the 1920s too, so it's like
even today it's something of a controversy on whether or not it's ethical to use hunting dogs.
Oh, really?
Unless you dabble in those communities, you aren't aware of it. I choose to remain neutral on that one.
Okay. Well, because a lot of dogs were bred for hunting.
Yes.
Like, even like golden retrievers, their soft mouths are specifically bred so that when you shoot down a bird or something, they can pick it up and not damage the corpse.
Exactly.
So, like, yeah. So, but are there any fishing dogs specifically built for fishing? I don't think there are.
Not that I'm aware of. I know that the Portuguese water dog is particularly good at swimming.
Oh, there you go. Well, so speaking of fish, we're talking about a fish. It's a carnivore, by the way. That's where we were.
Most fish are.
There's very little plants in the ocean. I mean, I guess there's phytoplankton and seagrass.
Yeah.
But manatees are plant-eating sea mammals, so
correct.
So,
and there are bottom feeders out there.
It's true. It's true. Just go look on Reddit, or on Twitter or X. Time late Miocene to early Pliocene, 12 to 5 million years ago.
So all things considered relatively recent.
Relatively recent, but not like Ice Age recent. Humans did not ever encounter this thing. Location all across the Pacific coast of North America and Japan. Described in 1972. Pop culture appearances. Ark Survival Evolved actually has them. I really need to play that game.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that it's amazing how many animals that thing has. But sadly, the name Saber-Toothed Salmon is a misnomer now, as it's believed that the teeth that they once believed stuck downwards like the canines of a Smilodon actually point out sideways now.
Oh, weird.
But hey, it's an eye-catching name. Actually, this was so recent of a study that when I first had the idea of like doing this episode with you a few months ago, I started writing this down. Then I saw a video for a YouTube channel I follow about paleontology that mentioned it's not saber-toothed salmon anymore. I'm like, dang it, I missed my chance. But I mean, I guess again I should just reiterate here that it is. It's still informally called that because it's fun, but it does. Which I guess, having fangs that kind of stick outwards, that kind of seems more fish-like to me.
Yeah.
Possibly the largest salmon ever. Imagine this thing jumping and being caught by bears. It'd fight back with its non-saber teeth. And turns out their saber-tooth actually grew in size as a transition from flat into freshwater. So when they were in the ocean, because like modern salmon, they live in both freshwater and in the ocean. There's not a lot going on about this creature. It's just its name is very catching. And I imagine those outward things would be really good for a fisherman's hook to get caught on.
All depends on the type of hook.
I guess that's true. I feel like my hook would just be like a plunger. I'm going to suction cup the fish. That'll work, right? So the salmon bred in freshwater, as Pacific salmon do today, the tooth wear pattern suggests the salmon uses teeth to defend territory and mark nests during the breeding phase. Have you ever seen a fish nest before?
Actually, I've heard of it plenty of times. There was a short stint that lasted several years where through about high school I wanted to be a marine biologist. I could have at the time named fish that nested.
Oh, really? It's so weird to think about with a fish nest.
So there are fish out there that nest.
I've definitely heard the jokes about in terms of what happens where if in The Little Mermaid, if Ariel stayed, what would happen? She'd lay a bunch of eggs and be like, Prince Eric, it's your turn to vomit on these eggs. And then Eric's like, that's not how we do it up here.
Yeah, I've heard and seen those jokes.
This is
the internet is weird.
This is my theory. Because about mermaids, this is the only place I know it's not really relevant. I mean, it's a fish related, so I guess it's somewhat relevant, and I have no other venue to properly say this. All right, so if mermaids were real, which they're not, despite what the secret science thing tells you, but if they were to be real, my theory is that they were fish, not mammals, because one, they breathe underwater just fine, and what happened is that they evolved the upper half of a human female specifically to lure in, because they knew that would lure in their potential prey. Because there's actually is quite a bit of that in where an animal that's completely unrelated to another animal evolves to look like that animal.
Yes, types of mimicry.
Types of mimicry for specific purposes, not always to attract someone, but I mean it can be to attract for prey and stuff. And so I think it would be realistic for a fish to evolve a very human upper half.
So there's another quirky YouTube channel that I follow that occasionally loves to explore cryptid biology and treat it as if it were they're writing a documentary.
But it's just I want to reiterate, I don't believe in mermaids. I say this is if they're fun. If they were real, this is how they would work.
That channel actually explored that for both mermaids and sirens.
Yes,
and the sirens were terrifying.
Are the sirens as in half bird people?
As in the aquatic siren.
Because sirens can sometimes be sirens and harpies can sometimes be similar. So
But yeah, no, it was an interesting little thought experiment that this person did on YouTube.
Okay.
As a mockumentary.
Also, I've heard the speaking of myth, I've heard the joke, where is a centaur's thingy? Is it on the front where the human legs are, or is it in the back where the horse leg?
I will let the crypto veterinarians or whatever they're called argue that one.
I feel like a human having something with a for the centaur would not. If it was in the back, it would be very difficult.
Again, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole.
I know. I'm sorry. I don't know why this keeps coming up when I just think it's funny. But yeah. Anyway, so my theory: if mermaids are real, which again they're not, they're fish, not mammals. That's my theory.
I mean, logically, it would make more sense.
Because again, they breathe underwater, unless they're just holding their breath for a really long time. But then they talk underwater. Speaking of, I know last episode we were just talking about the live action versions of Disney movies, but in the Little Mermaid one, they changed a scuttle from a seagull to a gannet, specifically so that she can be underwater. When and it's a she, it's Aquafina. In the first Little Mermaid, Scuttle was a seagull that showed Ariel the human inventions.
Yeah.
But they wanted Ariel to be when she went up to the surface the first time was a big deal. So they thought the way to do that so that she had never gone to the surface before up until when she met Eric. They decided to turn Scuttle into a gannet because gannets actually dive.
Oh.
But then I'm like, okay, I can buy fish talking underwater because they breathe water.
Yeah.
How can the bird talk underwater? The bird is holding its breath.
Yeah,
Look, again,
you're
I know it's
talking
talking.
Disney.
I don't know why that's the line. Like, for me, I can buy a fish talking underwater, and I can buy a freaking mermaid. But again, it's talking underwater is a bit too far for me.
I haven't seen the live action Little Mermaid. Been kind of bored with the Liz.
Yeah,
Disney
I know you said
remakes,
it.
but
that's-
I think they forget about the nostalgia.
Oh, no.
It's-
For sure. All right, but so, anyways, well, that's basically Saber-Toothed Salmon. Bit of a shorter episode, but Saber-Toothed Salmon. You've seen a salmon add little hooky teeth that go outwards on it. Boom, Saber-Toothed Salmon, except bigger too. So, and were there bears back then? And 12 million years ago, there probably were. And bears aren't just they were more recent, or were they not? I don't know. Let's find out. Here we go. Let's look this up because we are professionals here. Oh, bears. Temporal range is 38 million years ago. Yes, there were bears back then. So bears are very old indeed. So okay, so there were definitely bears that would have hunted this maybe, which would have been fun. Not for them, but been fun to watch for us.
yeah, fun to watch.
I'm going to rate it 15 million, 12 million of which goes to the name alone. But then minus 5 million for the fact that it's actually not saber-toothed anymore. So,
I mean, it was a salmon the size of a sturgeon, if not bigger.
I mean, I guess, and to be fair, if it was actually saber-toothed, like what would be the point? Well, how would that be good for anything?
I mean, if it was predatory.
But then, like, mammals, like, they're saber-toothed, like, it's saber-toothed cats. There's actually a point where the tip of the teeth goes beyond the space. So it's actually able to pierce when it dies. Can a salmon do that? I don't know if its tooth goes out that much.
Barking up the wrong tree there.
I don't know fish anatomy or fish skulls.
I knew something for a time.
Right. I mean, piranhas, they just eat with their inner teeth. You know, they don't kill. They scavenge. So, like, I don't know.
Nature has evolved weirder.
It has indeed. So I'm rating it 15 million. What are you rating it?
Yeah, I'll stick in that range. Just, it's cool in name. It probably would have been impressive to see.
I mean, again, it's an 8-foot long salmon.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. It's hanging up on this wall and be like, if you stretch it downwards, it'd be the size of from the roof to the ceiling. If you put it outwards, you'd be live in fear. They would constantly be like, don't worry, be happy, but like really big and really deep because it's a big fish.
That sounds like your typical venture into fresh or salt water, to be honest.
Don't worry, be happy. The way they turn their heads, to do this. Who came up with that idea of the singing fish? Everyone hates them, but everyone loves them at the same time too. They're funny to make fun of, but no one actually really wants one.
Basically.
Yeah. Anyways, my favorite part was in WALL-E when at one point Eve was in WALL-E's little camp full of trash, and then there was one that was, and he has electricity in this little thing, so that one of the things was the salmon, and then Eve was flying for it and started singing that, and Eve shot at it with her laser cannon. All right, well, that's it for this week. If you want to get a little meeting, contact me at paleobitespodcast@gmail.com for any questions to me or any of the co-hosts. You can find me on social media at paleobitespod on Twitter and paleobitespodcast on Instagram. Where can they find you?
So I'm on Instagram under NK Arts and Crafts.
And you're on Kara or Kara?
Kara. I am on Kara now.
Same name?
No, actually, different name. On Kara, I'm under Blues Arts and Crafts.
Oh, okay.
The nickname Blue was given to me by a GIS classmate.
Is it because of your hair?
Yeah.
Okay. Like, is it because?
Yeah. Specifically, it was a very dark shade of blue at the time.
Oh, gotcha. Well, it's lightening up. You don't naturally lighter hair,
right
so you got naturally light hair, so
it's teal right now.
Yeah. My fiance has blonde hair,
Nice.
so like if she's sometimes she thinks about dyeing it, but apparently reddish pink is really good with that kind of hair. So we'll have to see if that's what she does. Anyways, all right. Well, that's it for this week. You'll see at the end of every episode of Paleo Bites. Don't worry, be happy. What they sing other things too, but that's the only one I can think of that they say. Just little smooth jazz.